Association for Stock Car Auto Racing in celebrating NASCAR's 50th anniversary. Memphis is a river town where big names sing the blues. We're here for a racing series where lots of folks are seeing blue trucks in victory lane.
We've learned a lot as a team, and we work together real well. And I think that's the single biggest key.
We do the same thing week in and week out. We go to every race to try to win. You know, we get good pit stops, and we'll win some more races, definitely.
My whole key is just Fred Graves and the whole team. They got a lot of faith in me, and I got a lot of faith in them.
Those whose trucks aren't painted blue are feeling blue. Blow off Beale Street, never mind Graceland. These guys need a trip to victory lane.
We just need some luck on our side. We ran really well. We should have won 3 or 4 races by now, and it hasn't happened, so hopefully we can get it done here shortly.
The key for us is not to have any bad luck and just have some good racing luck, and we'll be all right.
Welcome to Memphis. Forget the blues. We're going green.
And it's the home of Elvis. Thank you very much. But Mike Wallace is singing the blues. He had a horrible qualifying, only 25/100ths of a second off, but he's going to start 20th. For Jay Sauter, it's going to be a little bit better. 9/100ths of a second off the pole. He's in the number 7 slot. Who's singing the tune best of all? We'll go all the way to the head of the grid. He's picking up right where he left off at Richmond. Greg Biffle, he finished 3rd there, and he has his 2nd Craftsman Truck Series pole today.
Virginia is for lovers. 200 is underway.
Believe it or not, they have black flag the leader for jumping the start of the race.
I didn't think as old as I was I could jump anything, you know, but...
Check it out, Ernie Irvin going for the lead. Where did he come from in this deal? Oh, and Sprague was trying to get under that 28 truck, but he turned that wheel on the back end and said, I'm going out.
Jack Sprague retakes the lead. Race for 3rd, and around goes Houston.
Oh, and this is going to bring out the caution flag.
Hey, there's more contact, and that's going to get Hornaday caught up. He collided with Wallace.
Come on.
All this bringing out the caution with 6 laps to go. Jack Sprague becomes your championship point leader and wins the Virginia is for Lovers 200.
Hornaday is now 57 points behind after that crash in Richmond. They put the truck back together. He had a scare in happy hour. They blew a right front tire after cutting it down. He managed to keep it off the wall. He'll start 3rd. Where's Jack Sprague? He's going to be in the number 15 spot. Didn't have such good fortune. But at worst of all, Joe Ruttman. He's going to start all the way in 29th.
Memphis loves motorsports. All the seats are sold as the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series comes to Memphis Motorsports Park for the Memphis 200. It's going to be a great afternoon of entertainment for these fans with the championship battle still in full song. The lead changed hands at Richmond, latest in the season we've ever had a lead change. 3 drivers very much in the hunt, although as Marty reported, they are scattered throughout the field here this afternoon. It is a warm and windy mess up the announcer's hair kind of day as Dave Despain and Dorsey Schrader join you live as we can be to bring you the truck action. Fun for us, hard work for these teams with 2 races so close together.
Tell you, really tough for the crew guys. They left Richmond day before yesterday with trucks battered up. They had to come across country, change motors, change tires, change everything to come to a brand new racetrack.
Today, when the driver says, oh, the crew's working real hard, it's actually true. And for the drivers, figuring out this new oval is the deal.
It's been a bit of a problem. The only time they've had here is 1 tire test. They tested and they saw what they needed to see, and a lot of the teams didn't like what they saw. A very abrasive racetrack, and with that, a lot of tire wear. Ironically, the inside tires are wearing badly.
Remember, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series has pit stops now. Tire wear will be a big part of the strategy that will play out during the 200 laps about to crank up. We'll take a commercial break and be back with the starting lineup for the Memphis 200. Our Craftsman Truck Racing, as we take a look at your starting lineup, face the field, and Biffle is on the inside. His 2nd pole of his rookie season. Mike Bliss rebounding from recent difficulty starts on the outside pole.
In row 2, there is Ron Hornaday as you look at him, and next to him, Tony Roper.
Strong Hornaday effort at Richmond ended with a late crash. Butch Miller, resurgent, starts 5th. Terry Cook, the winner at Flemington, outside him.
Next row, looking up at Jay Sauter. Next to him is Kevin Sawinski.
Good qualifying run here for Sawinski. In row 5, you find Rick Crawford, the winner at Homestead on the inside, and Jimmy Hensley, who won Nashville, alongside.
Next up is Ron Barfield alongside of Johnny Chapman.
Back in row 7. Where are all these championship contenders? Not here. Randy McDonald is in for Ron Keselowski today. B.A. Wilson up from Texas outside.
Looking at row 8, and here we got Jack Sprague. Finally, he comes in there right next to Stacy Compton.
Take you on back through the rest of the field. Compton is not feeling well. He's been sick for a week. Best qualifying effort yet for Anderson. Harvick had a heck of a Memphis. Let's talk a little bit more about this grid. There was a big change between the practice speeds and the qualifying speeds. Did anybody ever figure out what happened there?
Well, nobody says they haven't. If anybody did say they did, they're all worried about Greg Biffle. He seems to have been quickest all the time. Everybody who was happy with their truck was happy, and then all of a sudden they went to qualifying, and track just changed. Some cars got loose, and some trucks got tight, and nobody knows what to do about it.
Saw that Houston was a victim of that. Ruttman also. Rush had a great qualifying effort at Richmond, but ended up as the slowest guy to get in on speed here. There are your provisionals as the trucks are out there warming up and getting set to come down and take the green flag for 200 laps. A bit more about this strategy and tire wear issue as we take a look at your field of 16 Fords, 15 Chevys, and 5 Dodges. How unpredictable is that? Have they had enough practice to get a handle on how long the tires might wear? I heard a lot of different stories down there.
Well, the racetrack seems to be getting better as the rubber's put down on it. The temperatures have come down lower. The wear has become a little bit better, but it's still ironic that people are having left side tire troubles. And the reason for that, of course, is a different compounding.
That pit window could be pretty unpredictable here. Tires are going to be the driving issue. They need one stop for fuel, but tires are going to dictate strategy. We could see as many as 3 stops today. They're running for over $400,000. It is a 3/4 mile track, so that means 175 miles. Said we'll have a Federated Auto Care onboard camera here today. Tony Raines, of course, with the Pennzoil colors. A wreck at Richmond hampered his efforts. 29 McDonald in for Keselowski, the Mopar Performance Parts truck. There's Chapman with the Carlin Burners colors. New ride for him. And the former driver of that truck, Roper, now in the Ice House truck with the onboard camera. Here's Bliss, who'll start outside the front row. And looking out the back of Greg Biffle's truck as he starts from his 2nd career pole. He's the 8th different pole sitter of the year. And again, there will be no halftime break. It'll be full-on pit stops. For a quick update from pit road, here's Marty Reed.
You mentioned Stacy Compton, the food poisoning. He finally ate his first meal in about 5 days this morning. He had eggs and toast. Other than that, he has lost 13 pounds. The humidity down here, guys, is oppressive. His dehydration factor, that could be a key before this race is over for the 86 truck.
It's been a very tough go. He was definitely off form at Richmond. He's from Hurt, Virginia, wanted so well to run well at Richmond. But boy, I tell you what, when you lose 13 pounds in a week, that takes a lot of the energy. It's remarkable to me that Compton has been able to press on as well as he has. Again, he has qualified 16th. As we get set to go, the pace truck is pulling in, and we're just about to put the green in the air and get set to go 200 circuits of the 3/4 mile oval here on the outskirts of Memphis, Tennessee. Biffle, the pole sitter, don't you jump that start. We saw Ruttman do that at Richmond. It's clean and green, and we're underway.
Biffle leads down into turn 1. Everybody pretty orderly here. No problem so far.
Move on the bottom. Lap 1 goes in the book. Hornaday trying to make the move, pulling his way past Roper on the bottom. After difficulties in happy hour yesterday, not a real big problem, but a scare. Meanwhile, further back in the field, scramble rivals for position. Jack Sprague after the bad qualifying effort. Mike Wallace going up the hill.
Boy, he went way up the hill. You know, I'm surprised. A lot of bravery being shown right here with all the talk in the infield. Nobody knew what the lines would be around here. If the upper group would come in, they're going to make it come in if they stay 3 wide.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how well the outside groove develops during the course of the afternoon. Some have predicted it's a single file pole putter around the inside. Others say, nah, you'll be able to get up there and pass. Wallace apparently among those that you pass on the outside. He just did it to rain.
Yeah, he finished up the hill. Ruttman now, he started way back in 29th. Look at him, he's working his way to the front.
He's passed 5 trucks already.
Truck here.
It is Scott Walters who has a problem. The red man truck is smoking. As yet, no caution. We'll see what, no, I don't think, yeah, they're going to go. They're going to go yellow. Probably for the fear of oil on the racetrack. You see the oil, the smoke is coming out the pipes. It's a blown engine.
Yeah, you saw that smoke coming out of there, and that means he's lost a motor in a big way, and they usually do dump a little bit of fluid on the racetrack, so for safety, the caution is out.
Biffle had checked out, and what became a Hornaday in that lap? He dropped from a battle for second all the way back to about 5th position. We're going to take a commercial break and come back with Greg Biffle, the rookie, leading early in the Memphis 200. Of the day, you see the speedy drive for the oil from Scott Walters' truck. The yellow flag coming out on lap 4, just barely underway with the competition. Couple bits of housekeeping. My high school math teacher called to say 200 laps of a 75-mile racetrack is 150 miles. I knew that, but I think I said 175. Also, an update on Hornaday's situation. When we went to commercial, we told you that he had dropped back from the battle of 2nd to 6th. Marty may be able to tell us more about that.
Well, guys, he's not saying anything's wrong with the truck. He says he's managing the tires because he didn't like the aggressive pace that everybody was setting in the early go. So we may see some of that experience paying off. Otherwise, he might be fibbing to us, too.
A couple trucks on pit road early. Dave Mader has come in, and now Tammy Jo Kirk is on pit road as well. Hornaday, a very cagey fellow, caught up in an accident late in the race at Richmond. It cost him the championship point lead. One other bit of business to take care of. Randy McDonald is in for Bob Keselowski today. The Keselowski family had a death in the family, and Bob did not get to the racetrack until this morning, and our condolences go to Bob and Ron and all the rest of the Keselowski family. McDonald driving the truck here today, qualified it in lucky 13th spot. So as they work the track back into racing condition, Biffle is your leader. Roper is up into 2nd spot, and Bliss has slipped from 2nd to 3rd. This being the weekend, RPM tonight is obviously the place to get your recap. Right there you can see you get your Winston Cup recap, you get your kart recap, and you get your truck recap. And if you need some recap tires, Reese Davis can probably help you out with that too. 7:30 Eastern time tonight, RPM tonight. One of my favorite television shows. They're on every night of the week, of course, with the wrap-up of everything that happens in the racing world. Well, too early to draw any big conclusions, except that some of these guys are having trouble getting a hold of this place. We thought it was going to be pretty grippy, but I saw a lot of people going up the hill there.
A bunch of guys went up the hill. I'll tell you what, I believe what Hornaday was talking about. I think he is really smart. He probably is going to sit back, save those tires. Nobody knows what it's going to be. They all know it's been bad. They got to go with what they know.
On board with Johnny Chapman here as we prepare for the restart. Chris Morgan has the green in the air. We're back at it with Biffle leading on lap 9. Hornaday on the outside. Is he going to go forward or is he going to slip backward? That's Butch Miller challenging him in the 18. I'll give that spot to Hornaday for now. Gets back down low. Sauter behind Miller in the black 3. Ron comes calling on Mike Bliss. Meanwhile, for Jack Sprague, 15th spot. And we're qualifying in 15th spot. He's gone nowhere. Mike Wallace has been all over this racetrack, searching desperately for victory. He who made the charge to the yellow flag at Richmond that caused the big wreck that swept up Hornaday.
It surprises me so far that Mike Wallace is winless. He's looking for a win and hasn't got it yet. He's running awfully good.
Surprises Kenny Schrader, too, I think, the truck owner.
Sure, there's been discussion anyway.
Yeah, well, they're due, and as Mike said at the top, this has been a lot of bad luck that has hampered them. And there's no accounting for racing luck. Hornaday is on the outside of Sauter, and he is definitely conserving and managing his tires right there. I don't know about that. It looks to me like that's an awful loose racetrack.
Yeah, he's running pretty aggressively in some traffic there, and it doesn't look like that truck wants to stay down. Look at it right there, push up the racetrack, and now he's going to lose another position, or at least he's going to be driven alongside of as they head down the backstretch.
And the guy doing the driving there is Jimmy Hensley, who finally won in the Richard Petty Dodge at Nashville, and it was an exciting and hard-fought victory. Further back in the field, Tony Raines is caught up on the outside. Raines, who had problems, had this incredible run going through the month of August, then got to Richmond, and he got spun out, got a bump penalty, had lots of different kinds of problems, and ended up downfield.
Kind of shows you how close it is out there right now. They're working in a second groove. The upper line, there's a few trucks up there running right now, and I don't think they're up there because they pushed up there. I think they're just trying to get the racetrack in a little bit.
That's Corelli on the bottom. Rick Corelli was good off the truck. He was good in happy hour, but as one of the Chevrolet wags said in the pit area this morning, fell out of bed in qualifying and ended up way in the back. A lot of guys did that. In front of them, you get glimpses of the 99 of Joe Ruttman. Ruttman definitely trying to work his way forward. From 29th starting spot, he is now 22nd, and determined to take his time and try to stay out of harm's way here, keep alive his championship hopes. The 10 is Ronnie Rush. Good qualifying at Richmond, bad qualifying here. There is Houston, the Loudon winner, alongside his fellow rival for Cintas Rookie of the Year, Wayne Anderson, who qualified 17th, and that's his best qualifying position of the year.
Of course, right behind that now, we're riding on board with Boris Said, and behind him is Ruttman.
And I suspect you and Boris have engaged in a little combat on the road race courses of America over your careers.
We've had some great scraps, him and I.
Boris is a Charger figuring out how to do the oval track thing, and still inconsistent, which of course is a product of experience. But I'll tell you what, when he's on. He's very fast. 21st in your Napa field summary, as you see right there, 44. Tolsma's kind of been up and down here. He lost a whole bunch of positions early in the race. He started in 18th spot, had gone forward, and now Tolsma has dropped back to 26th position. Whoa.
Corelli drops the thing into the dirt and gets all crossed up underneath Boris Said, gathers it up, no wreck, but boy, that was a big moment there.
Corelli using his experience there. He's been racing oval tracks a lot of years, now goes wheel to wheel with Said as he works his way through the corner. This is for 21st position, and Corelli just drives on by. Rain says, I'll do that too.
Yeah, once they push Boris up out of the groove, you look at that upper groove, it's not quite as quick, and he's lost 3 positions now, and finally has gotten the 44 truck back on the bottom.
18 laps are in the book, 200th the distance. A lot of speculation that the tires might wear out in 50 laps. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that the situation has improved since that prediction was made early in practice yesterday. This is the battle for second spot, and this is Tony Roper challenged by Mike Bliss. Roper and that Ice House gang really coming together here in the last few races.
Well, that's the Gloy Rahal bunch, and those are my old Trans Am guys, all the crew guys, and they're working awful hard. I'm really glad to see the progress that they've got going right now with Tony Roper. They have become a contender, and they're running right where they want to be.
Great qualifying effort for Roper as he started 4th, now sits in 2nd. Hornaday having disappeared from in front of him, and Mike Bliss now in his rear view mirror. Bliss started from the outside pole, but is now harassing Roper for that second spot. He's actually backed off a length or two now. There's your leader. One thing that happens is when you run away with the races, you don't get on television much. Biffle still has him baffled here. The rookie is running away. We'll take a break and be back with more. We're back at Memphis. There's the interval from first back to a good battle for second spot. Greg Biffle leads it by 2 1/3 seconds. And here is the race for second, third, and fourth. Tony Roper, as you ride with Mike Bliss in the Ultra Wheels ASE Ford. And now along the inside comes Jay Sauter looking for that spot. He's got Bliss pushed up to the outside. Should be able to motor on through and take the Good Wrench 3 into third spot. There's a guy who's hungry to win.
Jay Sauter saw those guys having all that fun up there, and he said, I want part of that myself, and he moved that truck right into a contending position.
He did, in fact, run this group down to get into the middle of this battle, and the battle is a good one. I don't think he's finished. I think he wants a piece of Dean's kid, Tony Roper, here, as he goes to work on second spot with a truck sticking on the bottom.
Yeah, look at Sauter. His truck really working good to the bottom of the racetrack, and it looks like the 55 truck right now, Roper's truck, pushing up a little bit in the middle of the corner. And if he does that, here comes the nose, and now that's a moot point.
38 races without a victory. Jay Sauter is hungry, perhaps not as hungry as Miller and Corelli, who are bordering on starving, as you saw from the graphic. But there are guys in this series who need a victory, and Sauter is one of them, and he's determined to get it here this afternoon. I wonder now if he can gobble up the now 3 1/4 second lead that Biffle has built up. That is a huge margin, just 31 laps into the race. Hornaday has now caught this group. There's the 16, and he will make things interesting. The early radio traffic indicated he was just saving his tires and staying out of harm's way until things sorted out a little bit. Now they've done that. Is he ready to go forward, in your opinion?
I think he's making a little bit of a move. You know that his crew chief is telling him, hey, Biffle is running away with this thing. He's getting a big lead. You don't want to let him get too far out there.
We'll get on caution and tighten it all back up. Maybe. We know Biffle's going to be putting some people a lap down here. That is a very strong truck. Biffle, Sauter, Roper, Bliss, and Hornaday. Your top 5. You're looking at 4 of them right there. And I believe, was that Chapman down on the bottom there?
Look at Hornaday now on the bottom.
That was too much.
That's where you want to be. You want to be on the bottom because everybody down there is making the fast lap around here.
There's the Seville, Ohioan Tim Ice getting on TV as the second place battle overlaps him. Tim making his first truck start here today. Sauter pulling away from that group. Hornaday trying to figure out a way to get around Bliss so he can go up and join the fun.
And the fun they are having right now. You know, we haven't seen what the tire wear is yet, but right now Hornaday has decided, okay, I'm going the inside. Right by Bliss he goes.
Yeah, Bliss gave him the bottom. Hornaday gets down in the dirt a little bit, but he has position. Drives on by. Bliss goes in close to the outside wall. Well, let's not concede it yet. He's making that outside groove work pretty well.
Well, he's made it work well compared to everybody else who's been pushed out up there. But it's still to no avail as Hornaday now has gotten that position.
Yeah, he made it work for part of a lap, but couldn't sustain it. A new racetrack. There's not enough rubber down up there to have a lot of grip. They were predicting rain last night, and everybody was concerned that that would wash what rubber was there off of the racetrack. The rain did not materialize, and that's good news. Here's Biffle in traffic. He's already working to put the number 26 of Brian Reffner down. Reffner, having crashed at Richmond, hurt that truck and barely made it here. For an update on the leader's progress, let's go to Marty.
Well, the news I've got is bad news for everybody else in this field. He has reported in that the truck is extremely neutral, not tight, not loose, feels great, and guys, he says he's got more left.
Uh-oh, what's this about? Hornaday is coming to pit road. Ron Hornaday, this has got to be unscheduled. See what it's on the radio here. So far, not much. Crew going for right side tires and fuel. So far, it looks routine. But at 37 laps, there can be nothing routine about this. Wow.
Go ahead. Watch your speed now.
Well, there wasn't a lot of yelling on the radio going on. You sure wouldn't think right now would be the time to come in and check on tire wear, but maybe that's what he's doing.
Well, Fred Graves is a pretty cagey fellow, but I would be hard-pressed to come up with the logic in this one. Track position is going to have a lot to do with this outcome today. I'm sure Marty will get more on it as Biffle works his way down the backstretch. Let's go to Marty and find out what's up with Hornaday.
Well, guys, you're looking at the tire, and right here's the problem. So we have got our first case of delamination right here. I'm sure the Goodyear guys are going to want to take a look at this, and we'll give you an update if they think this is an isolated problem or maybe recurring.
Hornaday, victim of a tire problem yesterday in happy hour, and another now this afternoon, and that's going to drop him to 33rd in the running order. Meanwhile, we got a pretty good battle going on here for 8th spot. Ron Barfield being challenged by the 31 of Kevin Zawinski. Zawinski had a good qualifying run here. The ASA veteran now mixing it up with the South Carolinian Barfield. Barfield has 8th spot, and Sawinski wants it.
Well, it looks like if you're going to get a spot, you're going to have to put your nose underneath something, because right now that upper line is not helping anybody out at all.
41 laps into the 200 that will make up the distance here as the leader continues to run away with the Memphis 200. The lead is approaching 4 seconds for Biffle, who has dominated from the moment they rolled him off the truck. We'll be back. Northwest, Greg Biffle, Cintas Rookie of the Year point leader, is now a 4 1/4 second leader of the Memphis 200. What an unbelievable run Biffle has had here thus far. Basically unchallenged since the 4 teams came here to test. He was strongest then by a couple of tenths, and he's been the strongest ever since. Now look at Butch Miller coming up through traffic. He has moved around Roper and taken over 3rd spot for Butch and the Dana team. This is the best run in a long time. And Troy Selberg may be part of the reason for that. Selberg, out of the Winston Cup Wars, has joined this team a week ago. They finished 5th at Richmond in his first race. They qualified 5th here this weekend. So Miller thinks that perhaps Selberg has brought some magic to the equation. Currently 3rd, Miller headed for the front. That's a good run for him.
Well, Butch said he was really happy about this racetrack. He likes the racetrack, and he likes his truck here. He said they wanted to get the thing was pushing a little bit too tight, but they made some adjustments, and we're looking at Dave Mader, and he's got a little smoke showing there.
He had made an early pit stop. The Alabaman Mader, with the Rainer garage door sponsorship on the truck, may be in trouble here. The Ford is limping down the backstretch as the field stream by behind him. Biffle continues to build his lead over Sauter. There's the traffic jam in the background. And in that traffic jam, you got a glimpse of number 99, Joe Ruttman, trying to keep his nose clean. He is up to 18. Ruttman started on the pole at Richmond, but jumped the initial start of the race. The same fate that befell his teammate Biffle when he won that first pole of his career earlier in the year. So Ruttman said, I figured it would be easier to just start at the back and not have to go through all that rigmarole here. He qualified 29th. Marty Moore from the pits.
Let's show you exactly what happened with Mike Bliss's right front. Again, this is the same as Ron Hornaday's situation. I talked to Barry Dodson. He says there's just too much grip on the racetrack for the sidewalls of these tires. Now, I talked to the Goodyear officials. They feel that it might be too much air pressure that's causing this problem. They have taken the first tire back off of Ron Hornaday's truck to do a further inspection. We'll give you more as soon as we know it.
Bliss making that pit stop under the caution. And again, the same tire issue with Bliss as we saw with Hornaday. When Hornaday pitted at lap 37, Bliss made it about 6 laps further to lap 43. And now Bliss, who started from the outside pole, is in 30th spot, while Hornaday is 31st. They are both a lap down as a result of this issue with the tires. Everybody said it's a very, very grippy racetrack, and as it gets more rubber laid down, we're not sure exactly how it's going to develop, where the racing line is going to be, but everybody was concerned about tire wear. That's not wear. That's a different issue.
Right. That's delamination, where the outside tires coming apart. Now, if these guys didn't have inner liners, they would have had 2 accidents right there. Those tires would have blown out, and they'd have been up in the fence. Instead, the inner liner, they felt the vibration, they felt the tread coming apart, and were able to pit and get new rubber.
That's a function of heat?
That's more of a function of heat. They're just getting a lot of heat in that right front tire, apparently.
Whoa, we got a trouble. Houston has gone around. Houston has spun the truck. Ooh, and she's on fire. That's rare. Andy Houston, who was running in 21st spot and in a battle with Ruttman and others for position back there. A challenger for Cintas Rookie of the Year, says, I better get out of this, baby. She's burning. Tommy's kid has trouble here today. This after the Richmond spin when he and Ruttman got together. And that right there is the picture of frustration.
Well, you got to ask yourself now, was that a tire failure? That truck turned around really quickly out there. And when it did, of course, there was no saving it. Back up in the wall he got. He broke something in the back and caught the thing on fire. He's a frustrated man. Didn't need this today for sure. But it does pose some questions about the tires. And with the caution, I would be betting that Marty Reed's going to be real busy here soon. Let's take a look at this deal. Coming down the back straight now into turn 3. Yeah, that thing just broke loose on him. I don't know. I don't think that was a tire. He just got in there. He was up trying to get the truck down to a lower groove, and it just broke right away. It broke free on him.
So he comes in a little bit on the outside, may have missed the turn-in point just a little bit, got up in the slick stuff, and around she went. And when it backed in hard. And there's your fuel as a result. Houston quickly got out. No injury, but the truck is not in very good shape. This is the Addington Racing number 60. Rick Wren, the crew chief, said, man, it's been good except in qualifying. We don't have that quite figured out yet. Now they've got more trouble. We'll take a break and come back and see if they all pit. Reduced dramatically by Andy Houston's crash. His speed dropped off in a hurry when he backed that baby into the wall. Houston is okay. There was some fire. You see the extinguisher powder. This has brought a land rush to pit road, but not everybody. Matter of fact, the leader, Greg Biffle, stayed out. The bad news for the rest of these guys gets even worse. Marty has an update from down on pit road about who's been in.
Well, the one guy that we zeroed in on was Joe Ruttman, third in the points. They're down checking tire temperatures, and it looks like it's about 225 degrees on his right front, which is not too bad. I mean, we've seen temperatures up above 250 towards 270, and the tire wear looks pretty good from where we're standing right now. So Ruttman's set up maybe okay, and we'll have to sort of see if it's a matter of the way the camber is set up or the amount of air pressure. We're still waiting for the Goodyear officials to give us a final word on that delamination problem.
Mike Bliss had a problem, as you saw during Marty's report. He was back on pit road after that initial delamination problem that he had that brought him to pit road for a tire change. He came back in, and there was a crewman inside the truck. So Bliss, your outside pole sitter, now I guess he'll be tail end of one lap down. Andy Houston having brought out the crash here. The trucks that pitted included, well, let's take another look at this incident from our onboard view, the Pennzoil camera of Tony Raines, and around he goes and up to the wall.
And he was just a little high. Look at the truck up there. He's up a little high trying to turn it down, and of course when you turn from the upper lane like that, you're turning more, and it will loosen the truck up. I think he just got up too high and pinched it down, and loose you got, boom, and here comes the fire.
Crunched her up pretty good. Well, we mentioned that the bad news for the rest of them gets worse when the leader is not only good enough to run away from them by 4.5 seconds, but doesn't need a pit stop when the rest of them do. Look out for Biffle today. We'll take a break and be back. Greg Biffle is your leader. Butch Miller is second. Tony Roper is third. They did not pit. Neither did Johnny Chapman or Lance Norrick, who was way back in the field, stayed out on the racetrack. Mike Bliss has made additional pit stops. Marty can tell us why.
Well, believe it or not, guys, his cooling system malfunctioned, and when that happens, it's worse than if you don't have anything at all. So they brought him in, changed left side tires because they're going to try and get the lap back. So they think they fixed the cooling system, put lefts on. Now, let's talk about Greg Biffle. You may be asking, why didn't they stop? Well, his tire wear seems to be very good, and as Randy Goss's crew chief said, we don't want to get back there with all the cannibals. We're up front.
Attaboy, Randy. New member of the Dirt Track Motorcycle Hall of Fame, inducted on Labor Day weekend in Springfield, Illinois. Today, he's a candidate for the Truck Hall of Fame because he's put a good one under Greg Biffle. The green is back in the air on lap 62.
Well, you got to ask yourself now, all these new tire trucks, can they run down Biffle? Personally, I don't think so. Biffle's on a rail. He is going around here like nobody's business.
Look at him run away from Butch Miller as soon as they put the green in the air. Here comes Hornaday. Hornaday is a lap down because of the early tire problem. If you've just joined us, we had delaminated right fronts on Hornaday's truck and also on Mike Bliss's truck, putting each of them a lap down. Look at this 3-wide accident waiting for a place to happen.
Well, there was traffic jam there. There were actually 4 wide at one point, and there was contact made. Everybody goes on.
Sauter on the fresh tires coming through that traffic, trying to work his way back to the front. He among many who pitted on the second caution, which came out, what was it, lap 54 for the Houston crash. And now we've got Corelli in trouble. Corelli has spun at turn 3. And also involved in it is Danny Bagwell. Corelli lights him up to get back underway, and we've got no caution. Now it's out. Caution is out for Corelli's tire, which is rolling up the front straightaway.
And the wheel is not in it. That's just the tire carcass. It's rolling up the front straightaway. So it didn't unbolt itself. It's gone down. I don't know if that's a result of the wreck or what happened. We'll take a look at it, I'm sure.
Nobody will hit it. Caution back out on lap 65. Corelli spun. Bagwell ran off the racetrack to miss him, but made no contact. And when Corelli lit up the tires to get back to pit road, the left rear didn't light up quite as well as the right rear, and he is going to be making a trip to the pits.
Well, you saw all the rubber marks on the outside of the bodywork on the left rear there. That's an indication that the tire did probably go down and slap around and put that rubber on there. That's not from another truck. He actually, I think, had a flat left rear. Take a look, see if we can see what happens here. Well, it already happened. You can't really tell from that look, but I can see on the side of the body all of the, see that marks there? That wasn't from another truck running alongside. That's from the tire going down and then throwing its carcass and beating around out there. So I think he had a tire cut down there.
So you think that happened? It caused the spin rather than as a result of the spin. Here comes Sauter back in the pits, and he's going to be getting left side tires. Also on pit road is David Starr. Butch Miller was in, and I would assume put on, well, that would have been Butch's first stop, so he probably got rights. Raines is in, as those who did not pit, in some cases, do pit now on lap 66. Biffle, the leader, again electing to stay out. Let's go to Marty.
Well, you can get an idea just how much damage was done when that tire came down, and I mean, there's nothing left but the rim, and they are going to work. Now they're going to take a look and make sure the brake assembly area and everything else is okay. Driving around the racetrack is not always the best thing for those parts and pieces, and it looks like the crew is going to be doing some extended work here under this yellow.
Corelli in need of a victory. Thought things were going to be pretty good here. He was one of the faster trucks in practice, but then qualifying, as it did for a lot of people, didn't go very well.
Underneath the truck, I was just looking where the mechanics were working. There's fluid underneath there. That could be a torn off brake line underneath that rear. You see it right there. If that's the case, they'll probably pinch that corner off and just disable that brake.
Bliss is back on pit road along with Crawford for a second stop, and Boris said. And again, these guys coming in for their second stop are in the main going for left side tires. They took rights on the previous caution, which was just 23, 24 laps ago. So Bliss is struggling. Hornaday will be trying to get his lap back when we restart, and that will happen shortly after we return to Memphis with more of the action. There's a wreck that didn't happen. We've just restarted. They finished one lap under green, and these guys spent most of it beating and banging on each other. But in the proverbial great piece of driving, nobody hit anybody else. Somebody has ducked out a line down the backstretch. That's Corelli with continuing problems after bringing out this most recent caution. The number 6 Remax truck still in trouble. On the restart, Biffle drove away from Hornaday. Hornaday trying to get a lap back. You're on board with Randy McDonald in the Keselowski truck as he pulls up alongside B.A. Wilson. They are 10th and 11th on the racetrack and have made pit stops. The top 4 have not yet pitted. Biffle.
Ooh, we got a that was a good save there. There's guys bumping and banging all the way around here. There's 3 wide again, going for 4.
Terry Cook on the inside, moving by the Texan star. Lonnie Rush follows him through. Biffle, Roper, and Chapman have not pitted and are your top 3. Hensley, I believe, did pit. Norick has not pitted, and that's what's kept him inside the top 5. Behind them comes Sprague, Wallace, Barfield, Ruttman, and Wilson, and they've all been on pit road. Jason, he made an extra pit stop. They thought they had a vibration. They did have a vibration. They thought it was tire related. They came in, took on left side tires, got back out, and are in 14th position. All of that happening under the caution. A confusing race because of the pit strategy, confusing in many ways, but an interesting race from the standpoint of the huge difference in those who are getting good tire wear and those who aren't.
You know, you were talking about that vibration, and why would a guy come in just for vibration? You can't drive one of these. If there's something vibrating, you can do exactly what we've seen happening. You can have a tire cut down, and you're feeling that on the inner liner as they go 3 wide once again.
Yeah, Tammy Kirk, a lap down on the bottom, gets pushed into the dirt, battling with Anderson in the Porter Cable truck. Raines is in the middle of that as well. Raines is 17. Anderson running in 16th spot. Raines trying to take that position away. Tammy is a lap down to those two, running in 28th spot. Napa field summary. The Napa guy having a little problem here today. Ron Hornaday delaminating a tire early, going a lap down. He is currently in 24th spot. First truck a lap down, unable to get a lap back from Biffle on that restart.
What's worse than that with Biffle is he's not running everybody on old tires. I mean, that truck is on a rail.
Sprague and Wallace have moved around Chapman in the 66. Remember, Chapman is on old tires. He's alongside Norick. The two of them have not yet pitted. They've run 77 laps on these tires and have now slipped back to 6th and 7th in the running order as the fresher tires begin to bring an advantage to those who have them. The exception, the huge exception, being Biffle, who has pulled away to a 3-second advantage over Roper, not having pitted.
If you're a crew chief on any team but Biffle's team, right now you're in big trouble, because how are you going to catch this guy if he's this strong this far into the race?
78 laps in. Corelli has gone behind the wall. Marty is there.
Well, Dorsey was right about the brake line on the left rear. There's fluid all over the back end of this truck. They had to bring him in. It was a hazard. He had such a soft pedal he could barely get it stopped. So they're working on the rear end and the brake lines as well, guys.
Corelli with a less than impressive qualifying effort here today, but felt like he had a pretty good truck. Here is the battle for 11th spot as Jay Sauter.
Gives
a little bit of the chrome horn for Terry Cook. Move over, Terry.
Yeah, he does too. He moves him up the racetrack. He's coming through. That's for sure. Get a little bump there.
That's a perfect way to do it. Just touch the guy enough to get him loose enough to send him up the hill and then drive on by. Don't just run up there and whack him, unless of course you got the onboard camera. Then it's okay.
He did the right thing there. He just wiggled him a little bit. That's all it took. Get the nose underneath him and bye-bye.
How about Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton last night at Richmond, those last 5 laps? Boy, there was an opportunity for those guys to beat on one another. Nobody touched anybody, and Jeff won. Jeff Burton, of course.
Amazing driving show last night, I'll say that.
Lonnie Rush reported as possibly having been involved in that Corelli incident early. Does have a little bit of rubber to accompany the red paint of Ohio State on that truck out of Columbus, Ohio. Rush having a pretty good go here, qualifying as the slowest guy to make it in on time. But as you see there in the graphic, he's currently in 14th position. Ruttman has moved up to 8th, Norick to 6th. But Ruttman drove there. He made a pit stop. Norick has done that by not changing tires. Wallace has pitted and driven to 5th. Sprague has pitted and driven to 4th. So the cream rising here.
One thing you can say about Ruttman for sure is he's really good in traffic. He's good at working his truck around to the top to the bottom and getting around. Look at this battle going on right now. We're riding with Boris Said right there. This has been going on.
This is for 19th and 20th, and Miller has not been successful in hanging on to what he got in qualifying. The Dana Dodge has backed up here to 19th position on the racetrack, and I think part of that is a result of a slow pit stop. But he was running inside the top 5, waited a long time to pit, did not pit in the first cycle, and when he pitted with that second group, he was in there a long time. Biffle, Roper, Hensley, Sprague, and Wallace are your top 5. And this would be Roper and Hensley, the race for second. Jimmy trying to make it 2 wins this year for the Dodge, working on Roper in the Ford.
Of course, Tony Roper's best finish ever, a second this year, and this is a team that is coming along a long way. He's running really well right now, and I don't think he's doing a lot of tire damage.
Hensley really glued to the bottom, keeping those lefts right down on the white line. And for the moment, not able to gain any on Tom Ploy's Icehouse Ford, driven by Roper. Tony's dad won the USAC Stock Car Championship. I think it was 3 times, if I remember right. Tony coming along and following in his footsteps. A very successful truck racer looking for his first victory, but building a team that has the potential to score victories here. That's Danny Bagwell in the black truck continuing to have trouble. He got caught up in that Pirelli thing and had to go down through the grass. Didn't hit anything, but is now off the pace and 25 laps down. They spent a bunch of time on pit road.
Talked to Tony Roper, and he thought he had a truck he could put on the pole. He really did. He gave a real good lap in there, and he came up 16 thousandths short. Fourth place? Are you kidding me?
Well, it's a very, very tight field. A half-second bracketing all those who qualified on time all the way back to Lonnie Rush in 31st position. Sprague made the point when I asked him about qualifying 15th. He said, man, I was only off a 10th and ended up 15th instead of 5th. So it was that kind of a qualifying session. How about Hensley? He got a runner in there and runner in there and runner in there until he finally gets that kid up the hill and out of the way. Well, that's for third.
The Dodge is working better for sure on the bottom side of the racetrack. You see him dive it down into the inside there, and it looks like Tony Roper's got a little bit of a tight condition. Ice House Ford pushing up the hill, and that leaves the Dodge some room. And goodbye. See you later.
Yep, Jimmy finally wrestles the spot away from the kid. Took a long time to get it accomplished, but Roper finally gives way. The Fairgrove Missourian passed by the Carolinian Jimmy Hensley. There's four guys, four position. Note that 99 Ruttman is in the middle of this. He is up to 7th spot. Way up the hill goes Sprague, trying to go around the outside of Norick, who's slipping and sliding around out there on old tires. These three guys all have fresh rubber, and all three of them were involved in various portions of the Richmond drama Thursday night. Now they're 3 wide with Ruttman coming up the inside of Sprague. Wallace on the outside. They both drive by. Jack says, I am the championship point leader. I do not need to win this lap.
All that was set up by Norick, who actually bumped Sprague getting into turn 1, loosened him a little bit, had to check up, get out of the throttle, and that gave this run to the guys that you see running right now, Wallace over Ruttman.
Sprague electing to cut his losses and settle into 6th spot for the moment. Ruttman goes by him. Ruttman 110 points behind Sprague in the championship battle. For the back of the field, Lonnie Rush in 13th spot battling with McDonald in the Keselowski truck. I'm impressed at the run that Ruttman has made up through the field here, wanting to keep himself in contention. I talked to him between qualifying and happy hour yesterday when he was sitting there in 29th spot and said, what's up with this? And he smiled. He said, oh, we're not panicking. We're not panicking. Remember that his teammate is totally dominating this event. Biffle running away with the thing. Here's a side-by-side Compton and Anderson battle for 15th and 16th. Compton ill with the stomach virus. To finish the Ruttman story, he said, we're not worried about it. We were sneaking up on it, and then we made a big swing. We made one change too many and got real loose for qualifying, but we think we've got a truck that'll race. And he said, besides, I'm a race driver. I'm always optimistic. Conditions tomorrow are going to be perfect for me. And I said, what conditions will those be? And he said, whatever it's like when I wake up in the morning.
With them, all he wants to do is wake up in the morning. I tell you that. He is something else. You know, we noticed he can all the way up to the front from the back with no drama. We haven't seen a lot of him. He just makes it all happen.
These guys continue to make it happen side by side. Anderson working on the bottom, Compton working on the top. There is Ruttman, who has moved through to 5th position from 29th starting spot. Important in terms of his championship hopes. He's 2 positions in front of Jack Sprague for the moment, and way out in front of Hornaday, who is a lap down in 16th. And Greg Biffle just continues to run away. 5.5-second lead on old tires. Unbelievable. Side, Wayne Anderson on the bottom of the Porter cable truck. That's Dickey's kid. Dad won something like 1,000 short track races down in Florida. Up on the outside, Stacy Compton. I think it's the weight advantage working for him. He lost 13 pounds to a stomach virus. Hasn't been able to eat for a week. He is side by side with Anderson, and they've been that way lap after lap after lap. This is for 15th spot as we take you through the Dodge race recap. Biffle, stinking up the show, has led at half the race. He's almost 6 seconds in front. There has not been a lead change. We have had 3 cautions. Those have been related in part to tire difficulties with this new surface. As Compton finally begins to get away from Anderson here, we passed the midway point. We're at lap 102, and the question in my mind, Dorsey, is how long can Biffle continue to drive around on those old right side tires?
Well, he's gone half of the race. He's the fastest truck out there. They're rubbing through here. Tony Raines has been trying to pick a lane all day. Those guys won't get out of side by side. Now he's in that position. Biffle has been side by side with no one.
Yeah, he's had nobody to even watch. Here's Raines completing that pass now with some body damage as he gets around Anderson. Harvick will be next to try. These guys are back in 15, 16, 17, 18 spot. Marty, what's up with Biffle? All this controversy about Gordon's tires. I want to know how Biffle's doing this.
Well, this could backfire on them, guys. The truck's been so good, they would not give up the track position, but now they are going to have to pit within about 8 to 9 more laps. So they have got a decision to make here. They're hoping and praying for a yellow, and I hate to tell you this, but it's starting to drizzle down here.
That is big news. We've had overcast skies and a prediction of rain. There was a little drizzle this morning. A caution for rain would certainly change this equation. Biffle is 105 laps into it, having run the entire distance without a pit stop. Everybody behind him has pitted at least once, some twice, and he just continues to circulate on those right side tires. He passed up the second caution. Norick had not pitted until this moment, and now comes on pit road. He had dropped, I've lost him here in the scoring rundown, out of the top 10 before he made this pit stop. But remember, he'd worked his way up as high as 4th by not pitting. So as Biffle continues to put trucks a lap down with this incredible run, now we got a sprinkle on the racetrack and no caution for him in which to get those right side tires. So there's a lot of interesting stuff happening here in terms of strategy. Roper has pitted. This is his first pit stop. He's getting rights. And you cannot do that on a 3/4 mile racetrack without going a lap down. He almost gets hit on exit from the pits by Danny Bagwell, but has exited safely now, or is exiting safely without contact. So that'll drop Roper a lap down into 22nd starting spot. Only 16 trucks left on the lead lap because Biffle's been so strong. He's 6 seconds ahead of Hensley.
Guy's unbelievable. I'm telling you, that thing just runs forever on tires, runs for fuel. He's going to have to stop sooner or later, and if it's under green, it's going to make a pretty interesting deal here.
He cannot go 200 laps on fuel and tires both. We know that. He's got to stop eventually. He's like that bunny rabbit. He just keeps going and going and going, and every lap he puts him a little further down.
Not now. He's not going as he's going. He's going to the pit lanes where he's going.
Well, this is the moment. Greg Biffle is on pit road, giving up a 6 1/4 second lead. Marty?
Oh, and you ought to see the crew down here. They're so discouraged because this has backfired on them. Dan Binks is just beside himself as he makes the long road down to the pit out, actually. In fact, they're the second pit stall before they go back out on the track. And at 35 miles an hour, you can see the guys just waiting for Greg to get here. And he's going to go a lap down. Now he brings it to a skidding halt. They're putting the gas in. They're not going to change the tires, guys. They're just going to put him back out on the same set of rubber.
Unbelievable. Biffle does fuel only and elects not to take the right side tires. Some guys have had 2 sets on the truck. He is going to continue on the same tires, but he didn't get the caution, and he goes a lap down. Wow.
I think the reason they did that was in fear of going 2 laps down. If they took any more time in the pits, he could have lost another lap. This has backfired and blown completely up in their face now.
They've been the strongest truck all day, all weekend. They were the strongest truck all day yesterday. Now he's just a guy back in the back in 20th spot. Biffle playing catch up from 1 lap down. Your leader is Hensley with Wallace, Ruttman, Sprague, and Sauter rounding out the top 5.
I'm impressed on how far he's gone on those tires, yes, but how much further can you go? That's the question now. I mean, I'd have to think he's got to have a wear problem.
Maybe worried about the sprinkle of rain, certainly worried about the possibility of going 2 laps down. Biffle is the first truck a lap down in 20th spot. Hornaday with Biffle's pit stop moves back onto the lead lap. He is in 19th spot as he continues his quest to win a second championship. Dethroned last year by Sprague, Hornaday determined to try to get it back here in 1998, and those hopes took a big shot at Richmond where he was involved in that crash. Wallace racing back to the yellow, and as a result finished downfield and lost the championship point lead to Jack Sprague. Today Sprague is 4th and Hornaday is 18th, so it doesn't get any better.
Jimmy Hensley doesn't care much about what happened to Biffle there. He's looking at a clear road in front of him. His Dodge is sailing.
Hensley has a 6 1/2 second lead over Wallace, and Wallace has about 3/10 on Ruttman. So the battle is for second spot. It's Jimmy Hensley. Nurses a big lead here, 115 laps into the 200 laps that will make up the Memphis 200. He won it at Nashville by about the length of the front fender. He's got a whole lot more cushion than that to work with here this afternoon. Here's the second place race. Wallace has, well, you can see the difference. Back to Joe Ruttman. If they drop the rag now, Ruttman would move ahead of Hornaday in the points by 3 and would trail Sprague by 105. So that would be a major swing or shift in terms of second place. It would not dramatically alter Sprague's situation. He would pick up 40 additional points of lead over the second place man. The second place man would change. So Sprague and Ruttman would be the big winners and Hornaday the big loser if they drop the flag right now. Hensley, Wallace, Ruttman, Sprague, and Sauter are your top 5. We'll take a commercial break and come back with more of the Memphis 200.
Back at Memphis Motorsports Park, Greg Biffle has stopped, and that's because he finally had a right front tire that went away on him, and so he has lost more ground. Jimmy Hensley is going to be coming into the pits as well. Mike Bliss brought all this out when he had another right front go down and had contact with the wall. Now Hensley needs left side tires, or actually they're going to put rights on. I thought they were going to go to the left sides, but they're going to put rights on again for Jimmy Hensley. So our race leader has surrendered that position, and they are putting in a full load of fuel. This should be able to get him to the end of the race.
There is Ruttman leaving the pit area as a wholesale rush to pit road. Biffle, with an unbelievable first half of the race, eventually wore out that right front, cut it down. Bliss had done the same moments before. That put the race under caution. And now on lap 123, we have wholesale cautions for the leaders and those a lap down as everybody tries to look out there, boys. A little collision between the Tolsma and Crawford trucks, and Crawford says, now I'm mad. I want that spot back. That's about, what, 12th position, I think, once they get back out there and the pit stop cycle through. Hensley should be able to maintain the lead as everybody behind him is pitting as well, but that was a bizarre strategy for Biffle's bunch. I guess if they'd gotten a caution, they'd have been heroes. For an update, let's go to Marty.
Well, this is Greg Biffle's tire right here, the one that just came off. Now, remember, this went to lap, what, about 122 before it had a problem. The Goodyear officials have said that the isolated incidents that were Ron Hornaday and Mike Bliss are just that. They don't think that it's a across-the-board problem, and Biffle's situation is proof. I mean, he made it to lap 122 before he had a problem. They think it might be too much camber, too much air pressure. So, other than that, boy, for Greg Biffle and his team, though, this day has turned from really great to really sour.
Meanwhile, for Hornaday, things have gotten substantially better. He is back on the lead lap in 11th spot. He had been as far as 33rd. That's his radio. They must be listening to ESPN. He is 11th. He started 3rd. He went to the back. They cut down the right front, and he laminated the right front, we should say. Went to the back of the field, a lap down. Now through pit strategy and driving, has worked his way back to 11th position. We'll take a break and be right back. The Memphis 200 is about to get back underway here. It's been a wild event thus far. We've got Roper at the front of the field. The leader, Hensley, is behind him. So Roper's on the tail end of the lead lap. The lap trucks of Bliss and Biffle trying to get their laps back to go back to green. Let's see how good Biffle is after the tire change.
Looks pretty good to me. Here he comes up to the inside. Wiggles a little bit right there, but no contest. Biffle gets the lap back.
Hensley knew who to go with. He knew who the fast truck was. One Sage in the booth here making the observation during the that you really don't need to play a strategy game if you've got the best truck out there. Biffle's team elected to play a strategic game, and they're paying for it at the moment. He is 3/4 of a mile behind the man in his rear view mirror, Jimmy Hensley. There's Wallace coming up to put the move on. Try to take over a position. It does.
By Roper there, or not by yet. They're actually side by side going into one right there. Wallace with the preferred line, if you will. And he will now go after Mike Bliss.
runner having fallen to the tail end of the lead lap here after contending for the lead early on. Pit stop dropped him deep into the field. Here's Sauter, who is fourth, alongside Norrick, who had been a front runner thanks to a delayed pit stop strategy, but has now gotten in sync with everybody else and is in 23rd spot. He's cruising in the company of Jack Sprague, who is the championship point leader, and after this last round of pit stops is fifth on the racetrack.
Can't count him out now. In fact, it's been kind of a crazy race with all one-sided first half, but now it's mixed up pretty good. All the point guys are in position to race each other, where at the beginning, of course, they qualified pretty badly.
Well, it was an interesting qualifying with the racetrack slowing down between the last pre-qualifying practice session and the actual time trials themselves. Ooh, look at this. Is that rain?
That's
rain. Is that a leak? We've been getting continuing reports of increasing sprinkles. There was a lot of it on the windshield there. That was either another truck leaking or enough rain to bring out the yellow pretty quickly. You're following the Napa field summary back through the field. There you see Hornaday has moved into the top 10. So indeed the championship contenders now run third with Ruttman, fifth with Sprague, and 10th with Hornaday. The story we were telling was that the racetrack slowed down. A lot of guys were much slower in qualifying than they were in practice. In other words, their setups got off, and as much as a 10th could cost you 10 spots in time trials. And as a result, Ruttman started all the way in the back. Sprague started in the middle, and Hornaday, though he started up front, immediately had a tire problem and went to the back.
Like I say, with that Ruttman, he's a cagey old veteran. I tell you what, he works that truck all over the racetrack. He does a really good job. And update on Ruttman.
Well, the good news for Ruttman is what all you guys have been pointing out. The bad news is they say they got to stop one more time. Check with Hornaday's folks. They can go the distance. I'm on my way right now to Jimmy Hensley, our race leader, because he's going to dictate whether there are going to be any more cautions as long as he's the man out front. If he stays out front, it's going to be follow the leader.
Hensley has a margin of a second and a quarter over Wallace, who leads by another second over Ruttman in the race for second place. So the field has strung out substantially. As you might expect, Biffle has been able to drive away from these guys a little bit, but not enough to, I don't think, put him back into a position here without a caution and some better strategy than they used in the first half to get himself back into contention for the win. 136 laps are now complete.
We're looking at a caution trying to happen right now as these guys are running in very tight, close quarters here.
Terry Cook with the 35 of Barfield on his rear deck. They're looking out Bliss's windshield. Bliss plagued by troubles today, 3 laps down. He'll go Busch Racing next year with a team he has not yet identified, and the questions continue as to whether that team will remain in truck racing or go Busch Racing next year. There has not yet been an announcement either way, although there have been published reports that the team will stay in the truck series. We're talking about the ASE team of Mike Bliss, the 2.
That's a little rubbing as they get through that corner there. No upset. That goes on.
Chapman coming through with his new ride. He is 2 laps down in the 66, moves Cook out of the way. Cook is your 7th place truck. Now Rush follows him through, and Cook appears to have lost the handle on that machine. This one will be for position. McDonald is coming up to challenge him next. There's Hornaday.
Yeah, I was about to say, look at Hornaday. He's in there. He's going up and down and back and forth, wants to get through this mess and get back up to the front if he can.
Down for the moment. He's lost a couple of positions in the last 2 laps. Anderson and Compton both got around him. So Hornaday will try to scramble back into the top 10. He was there once. Now he's got to try to get it back. He's 8 seconds behind the leader Hensley as we hit the lap 140 mark. Forward progress for Anderson today. 17th was his best qualifying effort ever. He smiled and he said, that's not a lot to brag about, is it? But today he's consolidated that and moved forward instead of going the other way around. So it's a good run for Anderson and a potential top 10 finish. Meanwhile, Hensley opening up a 2nd and 3/4 lead over Wallace. For more on his situation, here's Marty.
Yeah, guys, check with Fred Wonke, the crew chief. I said, can you go the distance? He smiled, and he had that little devilish look, and he says, we have no plans to stop.
Here's Biffle, who might have planned his stops differently today. In front of Hensley by the margin that you saw right there. but a full lap behind as Hensley's truck bottoms out a little bit. Continuing to lead and apparently in shape to go the distance. We'll take a break and be right back. Caution is out. Here's the reason. David Starr of Arlington, Texas has shortened up the left rear of the number 9 truck here, bringing out the 5th caution of the day at Memphis Motor Speedway, approaching the 3/4 mark in the event. Starr was 6 laps down at the time of the incident, and the leaders are coming en masse to pit road, led by Jimmy Hensley, who felt he could go the distance but will not now have to make that white knuckle run. Let's go to Marty.
All right, guys, I just talked to Fred. I said, Fred, you told me you were going to go. He says, well, this came at a good time. We could use left side, so that's what they're going to do. They're going to go with the left side here. I doubt you'll even see the fuel guys over. In fact, no, they're not even going to put more fuel in. They've got plenty of fuel to go the distance, and they think they can get this back out, not lose the track position, and he's gone.
Wallace has also pitted. Ruttman has also pitted, and so Hornaday stayed out on the racetrack. That could be significant. Back to Marty.
Yes, and Mike Wallace put right side tires on, so it'll be an interesting battle here now, guys.
Everybody trying to get what they need for the last 50-mile dash that will decide the outcome here. Sprague elected to pit, as did the 99 of Ruttman, but Hornaday did not. Hensley coming in as well, leading the charge to pit road, and so the strategies play out for this last 50-lap run to the finish. And here's the pit stop for Hensley as he gets back out, and they think, yeah, we did good. We did good. We're happy with the way that worked out.
Well, they did really good, because right behind him was, of course, Mike Wallace, and they had identical pit come-in times, and there was a big difference when they left.
The one note we need to make is that Jay Sauter did not pit, and so when we pick up the field back on the racetrack, Sauter is going to be your leader. Sauter electing not to pit. He was, I believe, 5th when the rest of them came down pit road. He stayed out. So now the question is, will he have the tires he needs to hold off the on-rushing championship contenders? And ironically, Hornaday is now the best of those 3, he having been as far downfield as 33rd today. There's Jay. Started 7th, currently 1st, but we'll see how the strategy plays out. As for Starr and the way he got in trouble, we might be able to get an indication right here.
We're riding with Boris said. He's going to the inside. I think he's going to give him a little help here. He does indeed turn him loose. 9 heads up the hill. Bang. Boris kind of got into him just a little bit there.
Memphis Motorsports Park, first visit here for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, but not the first visit for NASCAR to this neck of the woods. Previous winners, listen to the list. Buck Baker, Fonty Flock, Speedy Thompson, Ralph Moody, Marvin Panch. You're thinking it must have been a while back. It was indeed. 54, 55, 56, and 57. The NASCAR Old Grand National Championship division raced on a 1.5-mile dirt track called Memphis, Arkansas Speedway, just across the river in Lehigh, Arkansas. Here is Ruttman. He is the defending champion in 3 of the 6 remaining races. And what the bottom paragraph means is that basically he made a huge Labor Day to the end of the season charge last year. If he can do that again this year, he'll find himself very much in contention for the championship. He came into this race just 110 points behind the leader, Jack Sprague. Sauter, Cook, Hornaday, Raines, and Crawford are your top 5. Ruttman will come out of the pits with Sprague. They're 9th and 10th as we go back to green and decide it here in the last 50 laps.
Here we go again. 4 wide into turn 1. There's going to be no time left now. You got to get after it. Whatever you got. Look at Hornaday. Loose as can be right up there on the upper end.
Looking at him from Raines on board camera. And moving by Tammy Kirk. Screen left. Hornaday 3rd. Cook in front of him also did not stop. The winner is Flemington, New Jersey. Sauter is the race leader by virtue of not stopping. There's Hensley, now 6th after the pit stop, and his crew happy that they made that decision. And Biffle, for the record, I don't think I made this point, Biffle was almost 2 laps down as a result of that bizarre strategy earlier. And now we got the 29 coming to a stop. I see a little fire underneath it, smoke out the back. McDonald has a problem.
Yeah, it looks like he might have lost the motor. We see the oil burning underneath the middle of the truck there, so that's not a good deal for him. His day is over.
No caution. He's got it out of the way, so that's good news for everybody else. McDonald was at the tail. Oh, now we have caution. And that must be for the fluid, I would assume. And so Sauter takes the caution flag. Let's get an update on his situation from Marty.
Well, we talked to Todd Berrier and the crew, and they say they will go the distance. I said, I wanted to make sure. I said, even under another yellow? He said, yep, we're going to stay out. And that's also the case for the 16. So tire management. Remember at the beginning of the race, we talked about how Ron Hornaday didn't like that aggressive pace early. Now, tire management for these experienced guys could be the key factor here in the stretch run.
Well, I think managing to survive a delaminated tire and come up to second place is a pretty remarkable accomplishment for Hornaday. He is second place in the not in the running order, not in the racetrack order, but in the actual scoring order behind Jay Sauter, the leader. We'll be right back. We're under caution. This would be a very good time for Sammy Sosa to come to bat. Sammy is chasing history, as you know, currently sitting on 60 home runs, and WGN is covering the Chicago Cubs versus the Milwaukee Brewers today. Word has come from the network. We will be joining the network coverage of Sammy's at-bat here in just a little bit. So again, Sammy, it'd be real good if you could kind of hustle up to the plate right now and do this under caution. In any case, Sauter is your leader. Hornaday is second. Cook is third. Hornaday stopped and got tires. Sauter and Cook did not. This is an inaugural event, the first time at Memphis Motor Speedway. Back in 1996, we added 6 tracks to the circuit. Resendes, Sprague, and Hornaday won 2 each. Last year, there were 3 new tracks: Orlando, Texas, Fontana, Rutman, Irwin, and Bliss were your 3 winners there. This year, the debut of Pikes Peak as a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series venue. Hornaday won that. So when you total it, Hornaday has 3 victories on new racetracks and is very much a contender to win another one here today if he can drive on fresher tires around Jay Sauter and pull off the victory.
Well, and you also have Biffle in there, who is in the second place. Actually, he's a lap down. He's not in second place. He is on second place on the racetrack, and he's going to be quite aggressive at the start. You bet that. He had a real bad situation on their strategy, and he wants to be a player again.
So if Biffle can drive past Sauter, then he's on the tail end of the lead lap, right?
Well, that's in by theory. That's what scoring's telling us.
One lap down. Biffle is 1 lap down and behind Sauter on the racetrack. And joining him in that lap down group, Norick, who is now being shown as 2 laps down, and Roper, I think, is going to be in that group as well. So we'll be ready to restart it here. Not yet. They're showing them continuing caution as the cleanup work continues from the blown motor for Randy McDonald and for Keselowski. So it's been a tough week here for the Keselowskis, and again, our sympathies go to them on the occasion of the death in the family. There's the sign, 1 to go. Our next NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series coverage will be from Martinsville. That is in 2 weeks. We'll be there all weekend, of course, for Bud Pole qualifying for the Winston Cup cars. That'll be Friday, September 25th. Saturday, we have the doubleheader, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series with the Napa 250, and then happy hour for the Winston Cup cars, tape delayed till 9:30 in the evening. On Sunday, we kick off the Winston Cup coverage with RPM today at 11:30 in the morning. NASCAR Today, my favorite television show at noon Eastern time, followed by the Napa 500 at 12:40. Quick update from Marty.
Yeah, on the number 14, Rick Crawford in 5th place. They stayed out. They didn't want to surrender the track position, but they don't like the condition of their tires. Watch the restart.
We will indeed right now as they come down to the green. Hornaday, master of the restart, did not get the jump. Sauter working hard to push Biffle down into the dirt, trying to keep him a lap down. Instead, Sauter got loose. Hornaday drives underneath him and into the lead. Hornaday now trying to put Biffle that lap down, and Sauter coming back at him on the outside. Wow.
Where you look at that. I'm telling you what, Hornaday went up there, bumped Biffle from behind, loosened up in the straightaway I'm talking about, not the corner, and that is going to turn 1 right now.
And then Biffle took a beating as Sauter comes back by. Now Cook moving by. Here is the battle for the lead. Ron Hornaday from 33rd spot spot, is back on top and battling Sauter for the lead. There is Norick a couple of laps down. The next man in the running order is Cook. You see a glimpse of his hood on the bottom of the racetrack as Sauter makes the inside move going to turn one. Can't quite get there. Now moves up alongside. He got Hornaday a little loose on entrance to the corner. Sauter side by side with Hornaday for the lead. A terrific position fight, 160 laps into the 200 laps here. Remember, Hornaday has the fresher tires, but not by a lot.
Look at Hornaday on the top making that work. That hasn't been able to work. They bump right there in the corner, and of course it loosens Sauter on the bottom. Hornaday takes the lead. Look from behind. Here we go.
Cook comes up alongside trying to make it 3 wide. Hornaday hammering on Sauter as they go side by side, actually the other way around as Sauter came up on the bottom. Hornaday gets the best of it. Cook there to play the spoiler.
I see all this going on. I got a place in this battle. I'm coming.
Raines, meanwhile, is up to 4th and Crawford 5th, and they're a ways back, but not a long ways back. Johnny Chapman is the 4th truck in that line. He's a lap down, and right behind him comes Raines 4th on the racetrack. Again, Sauter moves up to try to put the pressure on Hornaday. The all-time division leader in victories, Hornaday with 22 wins, trying to make it 23 here today. There's the yellow truck of Raines in 4th. The blue truck of Crawford is 5th. Jimmy Hensley is 6th in the red Dodge.
Good hard racing right now. I'll tell you what, look at these guys side by side down here. Sauter underneath Hornaday again. He's been working that lower end. You see some tire smoke come up. He's really pinching that truck to stay underneath.
Sauter trying to stay on the bottom. Hornaday's truck works well up top. This is the second time Sauter has been alongside. The last time there was some pretty good contact, but both trucks got back in line and managed to hold off Cook. That is Hornaday's radio to which we are listening.
Now, Jay Sauter can only run on the bottom like that as hard as he's running for a few laps. He's going to start getting loose. If he gets loose, he's in jeopardy of getting in the side of Hornaday, which would be catastrophic down here.
Hornaday knows that, of course, and has got to be a little bit nervous, but I'll tell you what, his number 16 is on rails in that high groove.
Well, you see the high groove gives him a better shot off the corner every lap for sure. He's carrying more RPM up there, and he pulls down these straightaways because of it. Sauter pinching the car quite hard, pinching the truck to the bottom, trying to get that preferred lower line.
And these straightaways are long. This is a narrow paperclip kind of racetrack. You need a lot of horsepower here. You need to come off the corner in a hurry and be able to power down the long straightaway using the motor to get the good lap time. Hornaday continuing to withstand the onslaught, and Sauter working his truck hard on the bottom, not able to complete the pass.
This is what the fans paid the ticket for. This is why they pay the price. You're putting on a whale of a show right now.
And every fan, the fans filled every seat in the place. It was a sellout. They had a bit of a traffic jam getting people into Memphis Motorsports Park here today. This is what they came to see. Still there indeed. It is Sauter on the bottom, Hornaday on the outside, and it'll be a dead heat at start-finish as they complete lap 168.
Still there. And he's getting tired of hearing that. Still there. That's exactly right. For the last 10 laps, still there side by side. It's not over yet.
No longer startling news for Hornaday. He can see him through his peripheral vision when he comes up alongside like that. Right now, he's got a view of Jay Sauter. We've got trouble. Raines has spun. The 4th place truck spinning in turn 4, and that will bring the race back under caution. And I'm not sure who won the race back to the stripe. We got plenty of time to get this one restarted. 169 laps are in as Sauter and Hornaday put on a show here. Terry Cook, that's the spotter talking him through the Raines incident. Ooh, a lot of fire there.
Yeah, I'll stop now.
I believe I'll put the brakes on. It's time for me to exit my truck. Raines was hoping to get the thing going again, but the fire precluded that. Here is the race back to the yellow, although technically in truck racing they don't race back to the yellow.
I was going to say, that was pretty close there for not racing back to the yellow.
Now they're going to argue about who's in front. You don't race for position, so it should be Sauter. The field is frozen when the caution comes out, I think. We'll wait for a NASCAR ruling on that one. Be right back.
This week has been devastating. You've gone from being a championship contender to being out of it, and I know you're not happy with what happened out in that track.
No, you know, I don't mind racing hard and clean, but stupid stuff really kind of upsets me. And as far as I was concerned, that was really stupid. You know, we were a little loose. But, you know, the guy's 2 or 3 laps down. I don't know, maybe he's going to get them all in 1 lap. I don't know. But, you know, it's a shame. You know, we were looking like, oh, we'd get a top 10 finish out of it. We weren't running as good as we wanted to be, but it ain't going to happen today. It's over. We'll go to St. Louis next week, see if we can't get another good race in.
Person you're unhappy with, Mike Bliss. I mean, it looked like you hurled your wheel at him.
Well, you know, I probably should have done that, but when you're mad sometimes, you know, I know he's a good driver, and I know he's smarter than that. You know, maybe he had another problem, but if he did, he shouldn't have been up there like that. So I'm sure we'll work it out. It won't happen again.
All right, Tony. Mike Bliss was 5 laps down, and here's what happened. Contact sent Reigns into the wall. It's already started at that point.
Well, he definitely got a tap there from Bliss, and it's, of course, turned him around. There's no stopping it when it does that. He's going to get up there. We heard him say he was a little loose anyway, so when you're in tight proximity and the car gets loose, the truck gets loose, you got to get out of the throttle. I don't know if Mike knew that. Here we'll see what it's like. Listen to this.
As you can see, he was racing with Hensley for position inside the top 5 when the bump from the rear sent him around, and the reference Marty made was to the fact that Reigns went out after exiting his own truck and bounced the steering wheel off the side of Bliss's truck, which may not cost him $1 or $2.
Well, that's the great steering wheel toss thing. There's points for that.
It's an old tradition, right?
Absolutely.
Here's the Pennzoil truck. Beaten, battered, and a bit burned up after the incident of which they just spoke. It will drop Reigns out of the race, and if there was any doubt about it coming into this event, also out of the battle for the championship. We'll take a commercial break and be back with more. Park have just seen the incident that sent the Tony Reigns Pennzoil number 19 behind the wall for the day. Contact with Mike Bliss turned him around. Bliss has had a terrible day here, beginning with a delaminated tire. It's kind of a reflection of their entire season, but for Reigns, this is the end of 2 days of frustration. I'm told that Sammy Sosa is at the plate, going after home run history. We'll join the coverage of his at-bat live.
There is the house, and
out of there. Let's get back to the car racing here. Actually, it's a truck race. Good timing, though, Sammy. We're back here just in time for the restart. Bliss has been held on pit road for a penalty. But we also have an indication that he lost his brakes, and that's what triggered that. In any case, we're back to green with Hornaday on the point, and Sauter challenging him now, and we have just 22 laps to go.
Well, it's going to be a cat fight now. If you got anything at all, you're going to have to show it. You're going to see it right now. Tony Roper coming up right now, trying to challenge Jay Sauter for second place.
Roper 1 lap down as the 2 leaders have the lap truck between them. Terry Cook and Jimmy Hensley continue their scrap. These are position fights right here. There's Cook in the 88, and Ruttman has gotten around both of them. And so Joe Ruttman is now your 4th place truck and will chase after Hensley, and that's crucial in terms of championship points. There's Corelli back on the track, 75 laps down. Bully, well, we got tangles and trouble and nobody wrecked. Unbelievable.
What a save. Did you see that? There was contact between 5 or 6 trucks. Everybody was in a mess right there. They're banging each other to death right now. That was a heck of a save there. I don't know where you'd go if it went bad.
4 and 5 wide. 4 positions back at the tail end of the top 10. An update from Marty.
Two factors involved here, guys. Remember that these guys are staying out. They don't want to give up track position. A lot of tires have gone away, and there is still a lot of oil in turn 4.
As a result of the slick track and the wild driving, 3 wide competition right there. That's Terry Cook, I should say Lonnie Rush, trying to pick up a position in the top 10. This is the back end of your top 10 that you're watching here, and the competition is unbelievable. The 18 is Miller. He is in 13th spot. This is all happening well behind the leaders. There is Biffle, who dominated the race early and is now a lap down in 19th position. The scramble back in the traffic. Up front, Hornaday continues to lead it from Sauter. Hensley is closing in on that group with the laps winding down. Hensley still has a lap truck between himself and second place, but Hensley appears to be the fastest truck out there right now as he tries to put Roper behind him and get a shot at the leaders.
Look here, 99 Ruttman's is back up in the hunt of things again.
Ruttman battling with Crawford. Sprague has dropped from the top 5. Now sits in 9th spot. not as good on these old tires as Ruttman and Crawford in this case. Certainly not as good as the leaders, Hornaday and Hensley. Sauter, remember, has tires older than the guys he's racing for position. Crawford's had an up and down day, but now the truck appears to be good when it needs to be in the top 5 as they settle it here in the last 15 laps at Memphis Motorsports Park.
Hornaday's truck looked really good. He's running that higher line still. I don't know if that's because that's just where he wants or maybe what the truck wants, but it's working for that truck very good.
Hensley will make the move on Roper that may get him through the traffic and give him a shot. He's got Roper behind him now, the lap truck out of the way, and Hensley's Dodge, which has looked very good but was being held up by that lap truck, now may get one last shot at the Chevys up front.
Sauter's not done with this battle yet either. He's coming.
Here's 4th and 5th. Ruttman trying to keep his championship hopes alive, battling with Crawford. Hornaday stands to be the big winner in terms of points. Sprague is currently 9th. Wow. Ruttman trying to shake off Crawford and go forward, but the laps are running out. I think if there's a story here, the two I would identify would be, will Sauter be able to get inside Hornaday when it matters and make a pass? And 2, can Hensley catch these guys in the few laps that remain?
Well, they were running from the grass to the wall there a couple laps ago. I'm not going to rule anything out.
Hornaday looks pretty strong now that it matters most. We're approaching 10 laps to go. I don't see Sauter getting any closer, but Hensley is catching him. Ruttman is better than Crawford here as he pulls away a little bit from the number 14 with the laps winding down.
Fastest truck on the track right now is Hensley, and he is making some ground on Sauter.
Keep an eye on that interval as Hensley tries to reel in the lead battle. There is the Dodge that won at Nashville in a thriller. And there are the 2 trucks out front. He's not gaining very fast. And you see the damage right there from one of the melees earlier in the day. He's not gaining very fast, but he is gaining a little every lap. The interval last time by, first to third, was a 1.5 seconds. It's now 1.43 seconds as we've got a smoker in turn 1. Is that Biffle?
Looks like Biffle might be in trouble.
His day continues to go downhill. He's throwing tire debris everywhere as he's blown the right front tire.
Again.
He's safely on pit road. Yeah, again, indeed. No caution.
Well, that surprised me because we saw pieces of the car coming out. You know, it was there goes another one. As a matter of fact, right there as that tire disintegrates and shreds itself all over the pit lane.
The result of that is that Hornaday absolutely drove away from Sauter. Sauter is now paying the price for the old tires, perhaps, although that happened right over there in front of Sauter. And I think he lost a little momentum in the incident with Biffle. That may enable Hensley to run him down with now 7 laps to go next time across start finish.
Hensley's there. There's no question. He needs to move up about 2 more truck lengths, and he's going to be right on the back of Sauter.
Hornaday, Sauter, Hensley, Ruttman, and Crawford, your top 5. Barfield, Wallace, Cook, Sprague, and Anderson, they're rounding out the top 10. Lap traffic in front of Hornaday. He zips by with no trouble. This is the area where Sauter got hung up a little bit. We got a crash on the front straightaway. B.A. Wilson and Stacy Compton have crashed, and we will have a shootout.
Boy, we sure will have a shootout for sure. With a handful of laps to go, these 2 trucks have messed up in the front straightaway.
Hensley almost got into the back of B.A. Wilson. B.A. Wilson spun truck as he moved away from the incident, drove right down in front of Hensley. Jimmy got the brakes jammed on and missed him, and we'll be back for a shootout after this commercial break. A wild day in Memphis. Trucks here with just a handful of laps to go. There's the capacity crowd that had just seen B.A. Wilson, the Texan who became the South Boston track champion, tangle with hurt Virginia's Stacy.
You saw lose it come off turn 4. There, spins around. You can't see right behind him, but there's a truck right in there. Here we go. We're going to have a little collision. Boom. Sorry about that. B.A. lost it coming out of 4, and that's not a good ending to a pretty good day for him.
Compton, meanwhile, the innocent victim of all that, as he found himself with no place to go, plowed into it. dodge of cars on the bottom as everybody tries to go by.
Yeah, it was Boris said getting to the bottom real quick when he saw that smoke. And guess what's going to happen now? We're going to have a heck of a sprint with just 4 laps to go here.
Yes, we are. We're going to see if Hornaday is still the master of the restart. It'll be tough for Sauter to get around him, but Jay will certainly give it his best shot. He's hungry for a victory. Hensley, who lost a shootout to Hornaday at Indianapolis last year, will try to take revenge from 3rd spot. That's going to be a challenge. There will be 2 laps remaining when they come back by this time. Now, this was not the trigger for the caution, but the 50 of Biffle cut down a right front, threw rubber all over turn 2 just prior to that caution coming out. Biffle, who absolutely killed him for the first half of the race, is now 4 laps down. The race ended now. Sprague would be the leader. Hornaday would be just 15 behind. Rudman 88 back in 3rd. Reigns championship hopes going up in smoke here today after a wreck for which Bliss immediately got on the radio and apologized. He said, my brake pedal went to the floor. Here's the restart. Hornaday got the drop on him. 2 to go.
He got a jump, there's for sure. He got about a 1 truck length jump, but now they're into turn 1, cold tires. We'll see what happens here.
Hensley could not get any momentum or any advantage on the restart. And as they slip off turn 2, Rudman is there to try to pull off a pass from 4th. He's the closest in terms of in position to attack. The white will fly this time by, and it'll fly on the former series champion Ron Hornaday, pursued by Sauter, chased by Hensley, then by Rudman and Crawford. That's your top 5. They single file it into the last lap, and I'm not sure anybody's got anything for them with a half a mile to go. Ron Hornaday into turn 3 for the final time. Brings the Napa Chevrolet sideways across the finish line to win it. Sauter for 2nd.
Ron Hornaday, Dorsey Schrader up in the ESPN booth. Ron Hornaday, this is Dorsey Schrader up in the ESPN booth. You copy?
We're going to be leaving. I can't get him on the radio, but congratulations to Ron Hornaday, winner of the Memphis 200. And virtually the point leader. Sprague hangs on to the advantage. That's the story of the Memphis 200. We're out of here.